1. Stepping into 1,980 seconds, Canada, a decade unlike any other. There is something about Canada in the 1,980 seconds that simply refuses to fade. If you lived through it even for just a few years, the memories sit there like old VHS tapes waiting to be replayed. Neon windbreakers, giant glasses, big shoulder pads, hockey cards tucked in a school binder, and MuchMusic blasting from living rooms across the country. Canada in the 80 seconds didn't just look different, it felt different. It was the decade when the country fought for full constitutional independence from Britain. When Wayne Gretzky didn't just play hockey, he defined hockey. When the Canadarm made Canadians feel proud in space, even as the country struggled through a painful recession, it was a time of transition, identity, technology, and culture all moving at different speeds. A time when people still knocked on doors, kids still played outside, and malls became their own indoor cities. Today, we step back into that world, into homes, living rooms, schoolyards, and shopping malls to rediscover exactly what daily life felt like in Canada during the unforgettable 1,980 seconds. Take a breath. Settle in. Some of this will bring back memories you forgot you remembered. 2. The Canadian home in the 1,980 seconds. Pastel walls, huge TVs, and VHS magic. If you walked into a Canadian home in 1984 or 1987, you would instantly know it. The color palette alone gave it away. The bright avocado green and harvest gold of the 1,970 seconds had disappeared, replaced by the soft pastels of the new decade, dusty rose, mauve, teal, and sometimes all three sitting in the same room. Living rooms looked like they had been carefully staged for a Sears catalog. Sectional sofas in geometric patterns. Glass coffee tables with shiny brass trim. Cushions with floral designs that matched the drapes. Plastic plants in every corner. And sitting proudly against the longest wall, the entertainment center. These entertainment centers were usually made of heavy particle board with a fake wood finish, and inside them sat the most important object in the house. The television. A TV back then wasn't thin or sleek. It was a giant box, often 2, 5, or 27 inches, and so heavy it practically dented the floor. But now, for the first time, many families had cable. Dozens of channels. American stations mixed with Canadian favorites. And beside that TV, another revolution, the VCR. VHS versus Betamax was an actual debate at the kitchen table. VHS won, of course, and it changed everything. Suddenly, you could record your favorite shows, pause live television, rent movies, watch them whenever you wanted. Friday nights meant piling into the car, driving to the local rental shop, Jumbo Video, Blockbuster, Rogers Video, and wandering the aisles holding buttery popcorn from the free popcorn machine near the entrance. It was an experience every kid remembers. Microwaves arrived too, transforming kitchens. Frozen dinners, microwave popcorn, reheated leftovers. Everything became faster. Cordless phones appeared big, bulky, with antennas that pulled out like car radios. Walking around the house talking on a phone felt futuristic, even though the signal cut out if you walked too close to a window. By the late 1,980 seconds, the first home computers were arriving: Commodore 64 seconds, IBM PCs, Apple II's loading games from cassette tapes that screeched and buzzed for minutes before beginning. It wasn't fast, it wasn't smooth, but it felt like the future. 3. The battle for Canada's identity, the Constitution Act, and Quebec tensions. The 1,980 seconds weren't just neon colors and pop music. They were also one of the most politically significant decades in Canadian history. On the 17th of April 1982, in Ottawa, Queen Elizabeth II signed the proclamation that officially patriated the Canadian Constitution. For the first time in history, Canada had full control over its constitutional amendments without needing approval from Britain. This moment didn't just change the law, it changed how Canadians saw themselves. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms guaranteed fundamental rights, freedom of expression, freedom of mobility, to equality. It shifted the relationship between citizens and government. But not everything was smooth. Quebec Premier René Lévesque refused to sign the agreement, believing Quebec had been sidelined during the negotiations. This created a lasting rift, one that still echoes today. At the same time, Canada was hit by an early 80-seconds recession. Unemployment soared over 12%. Interest rates passed 20%. Mortgages became crushing burdens. Families who purchased homes in the late 1970s were suddenly fighting to stay afloat. Food banks, once extremely rare, became a necessity. Yet by the mid-80s, things shifted again. The economy recovered. The stock market grew. Real estate climbed. It was a decade of instability, recovery, and change, and Canadians adapted, just as they always have. 4. MuchMusic, mixtapes, and the golden era of Canadian music. If you were a teenager in the 1980s, there was one place you turned whenever you got home: MuchMusic. Launched in 1984, it was more than a TV channel. It was a cultural engine. It made VJs, celebrities. It turned living rooms into concert halls. It introduced Canadians to music videos, fashion trends, interviews, and global youth culture. Canadian artists were exploding internationally. Bryan Adams, Cuts Like a Knife, and Reckless. Corey Hart, Sunglasses at Night. Glass Tiger, Loverboy. Platinum Blonde. Meanwhile, Rush continued to produce legendary albums. Their 1981 masterpiece Moving Pictures with Tom Sawyer became iconic. In 1984, a small band called The Tragically Hip formed. Nobody knew it yet, but they would become one of the most important groups in Canadian history. And then came the Walkman, jogging with headphones, walking to school with music, making mixtapes for friends and romantic crushes. Music became personal in a way it had never been before. By the late 80s, compact discs, CDs, arrived, taking over shelf space in every record store. Music wasn't just entertainment, it was identity. 5. Malls, fast food, and the changing face of Canadian shopping. If you want to understand 1980s Canadian life, you need to understand one thing: the mall was everything. Shopping, socializing, people watching, eating, hanging out, it all happened at the mall. In 1981, the world's largest mall opened, West Edmonton Mall. It had an amusement park, an indoor lake with submarines, a water park, a hotel, miniature golf, and enough stores to feel like an indoor city. Families road-tripped just to see it. Across the country, retail was shifting. Eaton's was still strong. The Bay remained iconic. Zellers offered bargains. Toys R Us arrived. The Gap expanded into Canada. Fast food exploded as well. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all booming. Tim Hortons transformed from a regional brand into a national institution. And in 1986, Roll Up the Rim to Win was born. Shopping became faster, louder, brighter, and far more corporate. 6. TV nights, Canadian comedy, and the shows every family watched. If you stepped into a Canadian living room at 8 p.m. on a weeknight in 1986, you'd likely see a familiar scene: the family gathered around the TV, plates cleared from dinner, the glow of the screen bouncing off dusty rose walls. Television wasn't background noise back then. It was an event, a shared experience. Cable TV brought dozens of channels, including American ones. Families could watch shows from Buffalo, Detroit, Spokane, depending on where they lived. Yet, despite the growing presence of U.S. content, Canadian television held its ground. Canadian comedy dominated the decade. Shows like SCTV featured legends in the making: John Candy, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Dave Thomas, Rick Moranis. They were funny, relatable, and proudly Canadian. SCTV didn't just imitate American comedy, It proved that Canadians were just as talented, sometimes funnier. And then there was Degrassi Junior High, launching in 1987. It didn't sugarcoat anything: teen pregnancy, divorce, drugs, peer pressure. Canadians remember it because it felt real, unlike the glossy American shows where everyone lived in perfect houses and had movie star hair. Saturday nights belonged to Hockey Night in Canada. Every living room, every den, every rec room. TV with rabbit ear antennas tuned in. The theme music alone could pull kids away from their toys. And then came Coach's Corner with Don Cherry. Loud suits, louder opinions, and a personality that felt larger than life. It all built up to the moment that defined the decade. 1987 Canada Cup, Canada versus Soviet Union. Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky. A 3-game final series that felt like the whole country stopped breathing. When Lemieux scored the winning goal, fed by Gretzky, it wasn't just a hockey victory, it was a national memory burned into the mind of every Canadian who watched it live. 7. Being a kid in 1980 seconds, Canada, freedom, fear, and everything in between. Growing up in Canada during the 80 seconds was a strange mix of independence and new caution. Kids still rode their bikes until dark. They walked to school alone. They played outside without phones or supervision, exploring creeks, alleys, backyards, and snowy fields. But something else appeared too, something everyone remembers: the faces of missing children on milk cartons. Stranger danger entered Canadian vocabulary. Parents became more cautious, but not in the overprotective way of today. Kids still lived big outdoor lives. They just heard more warnings on the nightly news. Saturday morning cartoons were sacred. He-Man, Care Bears, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats. These shows weren't just entertainment. They were identity. They were the heartbeat of childhood. Every cartoon had a toy line, and every toy line had commercials running during the cartoon. And every kid begged their parents for at least one action figure or playset. Video games arrived like nothing before. In 1986, the Nintendo Entertainment System hit Canadian stores and the world changed. Super Mario Bros., Duck Hunt, The Legend of Zelda, Punch-Out! Family arguments erupted over whose turn it was. Game cartridges needed blowing into every few days, whether it helped or not. Arcades added to the excitement. Teenagers crowded around glowing machines playing Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Street Fighter, Space Invaders, Frogger, Galaga. An afternoon at an arcade could drain a pocketful of quarters, but the memories lasted far longer. And then came the toy craze of the decade: Cabbage Patch Kids. Parents lined up outside stores before sunrise. Fights broke out. Stores sold out within minutes. The Rubik's Cube followed a puzzle that drove kids and adults equally mad. Trading stickers was a common cheat. No one talked about it. 10. The spirit of the 1980 seconds, a Canada growing into its identity. What truly defined Canada in the 1980 seconds wasn't just neon fashion or music videos. It was identity, a country figuring out who it was. The Constitution Act, the recession and recovery, tensions with Quebec, success in the arts, rise of Canadian entertainment, technological firsts, a new national confidence. By the end of the decade, Canada felt different, more mature, more independent, and more sure of itself. The country had weathered storms, celebrated victories, and shaped a culture that still echoes today. The 1980 seconds were colorful and chaotic, exciting and uncertain, full of laughter, change, and a unique Canadian spirit. And for those who lived through it, the memories are more than nostalgia. They're part of who they are.